One secret, one revelation, one love story standing at the edge of ruin. The Bridgerton Season 4 Part 2 trailer and first look have changed everything we thought we knew about Sophie and Benedict. What once felt like a slow-burning romance now feels like a storm waiting to break. And this time, love is not soft or dreamy. It is dangerous, emotional, and impossible to ignore. From the very first moments of the Part 2 trailer and first look, the atmosphere feels different, heavier, colder, more intense. The soft glances and quiet longing that defined Part 1 have transformed into something far more serious. Sophie and Benedict are no longer circling each other in confusion. They are standing face to face with the truth, and that truth is not easy. There is a clear emotional distance between them, not because they do not love each other, but because love is no longer enough. The first look makes it painfully clear that feelings have grown deeper than either of them expected. And now, those feelings demand action, they demand courage, they demand sacrifice. Benedict Bridgerton looks torn in a way we have never seen before. For so long, he has lived between two worlds, the world of privilege and expectation, and the world of his own heart. In Part 2, those worlds finally collide. The trailer hints that he can no longer pretend that Sophie is simply a passing emotion or a complicated desire. She is the woman he loves, and loving her comes with consequences he cannot ignore. Sophie, on the other hand, stands stronger than ever. Quiet, yes, gentle, always, but there is a new firmness in her presence. She knows her worth, she knows what she cannot accept. The memory of that painful "be my mistress" proposal still lingers between them like an unspoken wound. And even though Benedict may begin to understand his mistake, understanding does not erase the hurt. Part 2 feels like the moment where fantasy fades and reality steps in. The magic of secret identities and masked encounters is replaced with hard questions. Who is Sophie truly? What does she deserve? And is Benedict brave enough to choose her fully, without conditions? The trailer strongly suggests that the truth about Sophie's identity can no longer stay hidden. The mystery that once connected them now threatens to tear them apart. When Benedict realizes who she really is, the reaction is not pure joy. It is shock. It is anger. It is the painful realization that the woman he has been searching for was right beside him all along, and instead of feeling relieved, he feels betrayed. This is where their love story becomes epic. Not because it is perfect, but because it is flawed and deeply human. Benedict must confront his pride, his expectations, his fear of what society will say. In that era, a gentleman marrying beneath his status is not a small decision. It risks reputation, family honor, and financial stability. The trailer reminds us of that pressure without needing to say it directly. We can feel it in every tense silence, in every restrained conversation. Sophie's struggle is just as powerful. She has lived her life in the shadows, surviving quietly, accepting less than she deserves, because she had no choice. But Part 2 suggests that she is done shrinking herself for others. Love should not require her to disappear. Love should not ask her to become smaller. And this is where everything shifts. The emotional tension between them is no longer about attraction. It is about dignity, about equality, about whether love can survive truth. Every glance feels heavier. Every pause feels like a decision waiting to be made. The first look allows silence to speak louder than words. We see two people who want each other desperately, yet are separated by fear and misunderstanding. There is also a strong sense that time is running out. Part 2 does not feel slow or gentle. It feels urgent, as if every moment brings them closer to either heartbreak or transformation. The distance between them cannot continue forever. Something must break, either their pride or their bond. What makes this trailer so powerful is that it does not promise easy happiness. It promises growth. It promises pain before healing. Benedict's journey in Part 2 is not simply about choosing Sophie. It is about choosing courage over comfort. For the first time, he must decide whether he is willing to lose status and approval for the woman he loves. And Sophie may be pushed into a moment where she must stop running, where she must claim her identity, her inheritance, her place in the world. The first look hints that her past will finally come into the light. Secrets that once threatened to shame her may instead set her free. This is no longer a fairy tale waiting for rescue. It is a love story demanding equality, and that is what makes it epic. Season 4 Part 2 is shaping up to be the turning point not just for Sophie and Benedict, but for the entire Bridgerton world, because when one couple challenges tradition, everything changes. The trailer makes it clear that choices made here will echo beyond just one wedding or one confession. Love is being tested, pride is being shattered, and the question hanging over everything is simple but terrifying. When the truth finally stands between them, will Sophie and Benedict choose each other completely? Just when it feels like Part 2 is focused only on Sophie and Benedict, the trailer reminds us that in the Bridgerton world, no love story exists in isolation. Every decision, every confession, every risk taken by one couple quietly reshapes the fate of the entire family. And that is where the emotional weight of this season becomes even more powerful. Because while Sophie and Benedict stand at the center of the storm, the winds are touching everyone. There is a strong sense in the first look that the Bridgerton family itself is entering a new phase. The lightness that once defined their gatherings feels softer now, almost thoughtful, as if everyone understands that something important is changing. Tradition, status, and expectation have always guided their world. But Part 2 suggests that those rules are beginning to crack. And the first fracture starts with Benedict's choice. If he openly chooses Sophie despite the social consequences, it sets a precedent. It tells the world that a Bridgerton will not marry for convenience or approval, but for love. That single act challenges everything their society stands on. And once that door is opened, it cannot be closed again. The trailer quietly hints that other members of the family are watching, learning, questioning their own futures. Francesca's journey begins to feel more significant in this context. Until now, her path has seemed calm, almost peaceful compared to the emotional chaos surrounding her siblings. But Part 2 teases something shifting beneath the surface. Her emotions grow more complicated. Her sense of identity deepens. There's a subtle tension in her expressions, as if she is realizing that love may not look the way she once imagined. The arrival of new energy into her world stirs feelings she cannot easily define. And the trailer suggests that her story is only beginning to unfold. Not loudly, not dramatically, but with a quiet intensity that promises something transformative in the seasons ahead. At the same time, Violet's storyline carries a different kind of emotional power. Watching her allow herself to love again feels deeply symbolic. For so long, she has been the steady center of the family, guiding her children through their romantic struggles, while quietly carrying her own memories. But Part 2 hints that she is no longer just the observer. She is stepping into her own story, and that requires courage of a different kind. Love later in life is not about passion alone. It is about vulnerability, about choosing happiness despite past loss. The trailer suggests that even this sweet romance will not be without its complications, because love, no matter the age, demands honesty and bravery. Then there is Eloise. Quiet on the surface, but never simple. Part 2 teases that her independence may soon be tested. The idea of correspondence returning into her life feels small at first, but in the Bridgerton world, letters have always carried powerful emotion. A single exchange can reignite feelings long buried. The trailer gives us the sense that Eloise's heart is not as untouched as she pretends. And if Benedict's bold choice challenges society, it may also inspire her to reconsider her own stance on love. Perhaps independence and romance do not have to exist in opposition. Perhaps Part 2 plants the first seed of that realization. What makes this section of the season so compelling is the interconnectedness. One decision echoes into another. Sophie claiming her identity affects not only her future, but the way the family views class and status. Benedict choosing love over expectation forces others to ask themselves what they truly want. Even the smallest shifts in loyalty or support carry weight. The trailer hints at glances between siblings, at silent conversations filled with understanding. The Bridgertons are not just reacting, they are evolving. There is also a stronger sense of consequence in the wider social circle. Reputation is fragile. Authority figures watch closely. Whispers travel fast. The first look suggests that the choices made in private will soon become public knowledge, and once society begins to talk, pressure builds quickly. The family must decide whether to protect tradition or stand united behind love. That tension adds a layer of suspense that extends far beyond one couple's romance. What is most powerful about Part 2 is that growth does not come easily. It is not delivered in grand speeches or dramatic gestures alone. It comes in moments of realization, in pauses before answers, in the decision to stand beside someone when it would be safer to step back. The trailer does not rush these transformations. It allows them to breathe, to feel real. By the time we reach the final stretch of Part 2, it becomes clear that this is not simply the continuation of a season. It is a turning point for the entire Bridgerton legacy. Love is no longer treated as a charming tradition to be arranged and celebrated. It is something radical, something personal, something worth fighting for. And that is what makes the stakes feel so high. Because if one Bridgerton proves that love can defy expectation, then the future of this family will never look the same again. The question is no longer just whether Sophie and Benedict will find their happy ending. It is whether the Bridgerton world is ready for the change their love is about to bring. As Season 4 Part 2 moves toward its final moments, the trailer makes one thing painfully clear. This is not just about reaching a wedding or resolving a misunderstanding. It is about transformation. It is about who these characters become after they have been tested by love, pride, and truth. And nothing about that journey feels simple. The emotional weight of Part 2 does not disappear after the biggest revelations. It lingers. It settles into every relationship. The atmosphere feels more mature, more reflective, almost as if the Bridgerton world itself understands that something irreversible has happened. The innocence of longing has been replaced with the reality of choice. And choice always carries consequence. For Sophie and Benedict, the promise of a fairy tale ending only feels meaningful because of the pain that came before it. If they reach their wedding day, it will not be because destiny handed it to them. It will be because they fought for it, because they chose each other when it was easier to walk away. The trailer suggests that their union is not just romantic, but symbolic, a statement that love must be rooted in equality, respect, and courage, not secrecy, not compromise that diminishes one person for the comfort of another. There is something deeply powerful about watching Benedict finally understand that love is not possession, it is not fantasy, it is partnership. His transformation feels like the true emotional payoff of Part 2. Not simply choosing Sophie, but choosing to stand beside her as an equal. Letting go of pride, letting go of the need to control the narrative. Accepting that real love demands vulnerability. And Sophie's journey feels just as significant. She begins this season surviving quietly, protecting herself by remaining unseen. But Part 2 pushes her into the light. Her identity, once a source of fear, becomes her strength. Her past, once used against her, becomes part of her claim to happiness. The trailer hints that by the end, she is no longer hiding. She is standing confidently in a place she once believed she could never belong. That shift alone makes their story feel epic. But what makes the ending even more compelling is that it does not close the door. It opens new ones. Francesca's path feels ready to step forward in future seasons. The emotional complexity tased in Part 2 suggests that her story will not follow an easy or predictable route. There is anticipation in the air surrounding her journey, a sense that love, for her, will challenge identity and expectation in ways we are not fully prepared for yet. Violet's happiness, too, carries deeper meaning. If she allows herself a second chance at love, it reshapes the emotional foundation of the family. It shows that life does not stop after loss, that joy can return in unexpected forms. And that courage is not limited by age or experience. Her story quietly reinforces the larger theme of Part 2. Love is worth the risk, no matter when it arrives. Eloise remains a question mark, but not an empty one. The trailer teases possibility, correspondence, a reopening of emotional doors she once firmly shut. Her independence has always defined her, but Part 2 hints that independence and intimacy may not be opposites. Watching her wrestle with that realization could become one of the most compelling arcs ahead. What makes this chapter unforgettable is the balance between suspense and hope. The trailer does not promise that everyone will walk away untouched. It promises growth. It promises that heartbreak, if it comes, will not be meaningless. Every confrontation, every secret revealed, every decision made pushes these characters closer to understanding themselves. By the time part 2 reaches its final emotional beat, there is a sense of earned resolution. Not perfection, not a world free of pressure or gossip, but a world where love has proven itself strong enough to survive reality. The stakes have felt real, the tension has felt personal, and the payoff, if delivered as the trailer suggests, will feel deeply satisfying. Season 4 Part 2 is not just a continuation. It is the moment where everything that has been building finally matters, where silence turns into confession, where pride turns into humility, where longing turns into commitment. It is the chapter that reminds us why we fell in love with this universe in the first place. Because at its heart, Bridgerton has never been only about grand balls or whispered secrets. It has always been about courage, the courage to love boldly, to choose truth over comfort, to stand beside someone even when the world doubts you. And as the screen fades on this chapter, one feeling remains stronger than ever. The Bridgerton world is changing. And after part 2, none of them will ever be the same again.